What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm so happy she's here to hang out, to talk some fantasy, talk about her origin story. This is my new series called Women in Sports, just to celebrate and highlight some of your achievements. So I have Samantha.
Hi, so excited to join you. This is gonna be so much fun. I'm excited.
This is going to be a really good podcast. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that were excited to see that I was having you on, and well, here we are now. You hanging out with me, and we're going to be talking about you. So that's definitely cool.
No, I'm excited. I was really surprised to see, I'm always excited to join every podcast that I get invited on. It's super fun to get to meet people in the space and hear, just everyone's different style in podcasting. I feel like we all have different takes, and that's super fun. But I'm just super excited that people were looking forward to hear more about me.
Yeah, I mean, you never know who's watching either, because there's a lot of your stuff that I've seen that I watch, and I've seen you pop up on other people's shows as well. So I'm like, wow, she's very active. She's out there booked and busy, right?
I know. My friends joke that I need an assistant because every time stuff comes up, I'm like, I think I have a podcast tonight. And they're like, I have two. Shit, I've got too many things going on.
I've been there.
I love meeting people, and I love talking fantasy. It all just comes from a place of love and just enjoyment of the sport. So I just love getting to know different people in the space.
Yeah, so fantasy football, the Steelers, and whiskey. I believe that's in your bio, right?
Yes, those are the main things you need to know about me. I think it says that in my dating profile as well. Just like fantasy football, Steelers, and bourbon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you get a lot of hits on that since you say football and whiskey.
Yes, but then it's funny because people comment and then be like, "Oh, football! I love football," and then I go off. And they're like, okay, I don't love football that much.
Yeah.
You love football way too much.
You know a little too much, more than me. That's basically what it comes down
to. Oh, you must have fantasy advice for me. Well, that depends. What's your league format? How many leagues are you in? Do you have rookies? And I don't know what I got into.
Are you getting the questions yet? I think it's question season. Have you been getting the trade questions? Because mine's have been pulling in somewhat, but I'm starting to feel like the pressure of oh no, it's ask question season. Geez.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the questions have been a little bit slower this season. I don't know if it's because we're all still coming back from the weird COVID season that we had, and obviously we didn't have the same. Everyone's had pro days, but we didn't get to have the combine again. It wasn't quite the same, so I think that stuff is a bit slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, not having the combine is kind of disappointing a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I kind of want to see that, but hopefully we get OTAs, we figure that out in the next couple of weeks, I guess, and hopefully training camp and et cetera, et cetera. But
although all the off-season moves have still kept us interested. Miami being crazy in trading, everyone has boosted everyone's interest, but everyone has the same question. Okay, who's going to get taken? Who's going to take who are the top quarterbacks that are going to get taken? Who's going to be the first running back off the board? And I'm at this point where I can keep looking at tape, or I can just sit with everyone else with the popcorn and see who goes where, and then finally dissect how these players are going to fit in these different systems.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, let's touch on you being a Steelers fan. Why the Steelers, first of all?
Great question. I get that a lot. Are you from Pittsburgh? Because obviously that must be why you're a Steelers fan. No, I'm born and raised in Southern California. I'm a Steelers fan because my dad's a Steelers fan. And my dad is a Steelers fan because he's actually from England. And when he moved to the States, he didn't know anything about American football and was at a pub in Santa Monica learning about football with his friends. And there was a Steelers game on. And he said, oh, they're the same colors as my club home soccer team back in England, so I will root for them. They won that game, and he said, cool, they're my team. So they were his team through the 80s and all the way through. And so I was born, raised Steelers fan. And the love for football has always been there growing up. Oh, yeah, because I always loved sports. My brother's an athlete and played every sport growing up. So I'm not an athletic person, unfortunately. I wish I was. But I was always a bit of a pipsqueak when it came to just me versus people in team sports.
Gotcha.
I was 4'11" until I was a freshman in high school. So I was tiny, itty bitty. And then I grew 6 inches in a year. And didn't put on any weight. So I was always tiny and I'm not coordinated at all. So just
wow.
terrible at team sports.
I can
but
relate to
loved
that.
watching
I
it.
can relate to that.
Yeah.
I think I was 4'11" freshman year too, but we all have our different journeys. But
We
again,
do.
yeah, what can you do? So, what are your thoughts on Big Ben returning? Actually, I'm curious to hear from an actual Steelers fan because there's like the casual Steelers fans that are like, "Oh yeah, great, yes, he's back," but it's kind of like the core Steelers fans have begin mixed, answers with that.
Well, we have him for another year, is kind of just my thoughts. Like, obviously, I love what he's been able to do with this team. I am grateful for all that he's done. However, I was hoping that we would make some sort of magical offseason move to get us into this hunt for one of these top 5 quarterbacks in
Yeah,
this rookie draft. That's obviously not going to happen. We ended up with Dwayne Haskins, which I'm trying to see silver linings there. Obviously, players work different in different systems, and I have the most faith in Mike Tomlin. So I'm just going to keep my faith there and be like, all right, he's making moves. He knows what he can handle and who he can work with. Hopefully, he's someone he can coach up, and he
yeah.
will be our future. As far as Ben, I'm more just thinking, how many games are we going to get out of him this season?
Yeah, I
Not a
mean,
lot.
if you had to call it, are you
Mm-hmm.
guys winning 10 games this season? Are you guys playoffs?
Oh, we're playoffs. Come on.
Playoffs.
Playoffs?
I
Obviously
mean, that
playoffs.
division's been looking a little scary. The
It's
Browns have gotten better on defense as well.
I know, which is very disappointing.
It's very
I,
that division's packed.
very frustrating. It is a very, very stacked division, and
Mhm.
the Bengals are going to be coming up very quickly. I have a lot of excitement and fantasy football love and trust in Joe Burrow for a lot of
Yeah,
different reasons. As a Steelers fan, it is a bit daunting to see this division suddenly become so dense.
yeah, right.
But
So
I
soon
also
too.
think iron sharpens iron, and it just means our players are going to have to level up. We're not going
Yeah,
to be able to just coast in with our amazing defense. We have to level up. Every player has to level up. So with that, that's why I'm hopeful that Tomlin can coach up Haskins so that he can be our good future. I do think playoffs are in the mix for us.
yeah,
But it is going to be close.
yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Like I can't explain it. Like I'm more excited for this season coming up because of so many teams that made so many moves and new faces and all this other things. Like I'm excited to the point where like there's like almost every team's good except for the trash teams that have been trash for the last 5 years. But like every team that's been competitive have just gotten better this offseason. So that's gonna be
Yeah,
exciting to see. So let's speak on your boy Juju. He re-signed.
he did.
Happy?
I was happy to see that he re-signed given the offers that he had around the league. He did have other offers for a little bit more money, not a lot more money.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
not
gotta
a
throw
lot.
something. My cat's making noise. Um, I told you he's gonna try and get in this show at the very least. So I throw stuff at him until he stops.
I love it.
But anyways, no, I think what I love about Juju is he's all about the team mindset. He's not
Yeah.
a player that's playing for himself. So he's
Yeah.
playing for the team to get better. So he's obviously taking less money. He loves this system. He loves this town. And I really appreciate that. So hopefully he can, rise up again. Maybe being the number one was too much on him. I think he does better as that number 2
Yeah.
spot. And with someone like Chase Claypool suddenly stealing a bunch of the spotlight, I think it's going to help Juju this coming season.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like Juju when he had that number one wide receiver role, it was like for me, it was too soon. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was great when AB was there and he was able to eat and be great in fantasy. Overall, Juju's very talented. I mean, we saw him with Sam Darnold in college look amazing and make Sam Darnold look amazing. So
Yeah.
that chemistry there was, beautiful. And I like Juju as a player, but when he's in that number one role, I see him struggle. You know what I mean? So that leads into my next question. You have to cut one, you have to bench one, you have to start one between Deontay, Claypool, and Juju.
Oh no! I don't like this question at all. Okay,
I had to throw it at you.
Cut one, bench one, and start one.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, there's no right answer. It's all
There is
painful.
no right answer.
It's all painful. I tried it myself.
Okay, I have to cut, bench, and start. Okay, I'm starting Chase Claypool.
Nice.
I'm benching Juju and cutting Deontay. That's probably going to be like the
Wow.
most like hot takey thing I've said in a very long time.
Don't worry, I got it timestamped. I'll post it.
I know when Deontay goes off and is the number one receiver at the end of the season, you'll be like, Sam Holt said that he was crap. So I have the tape.
Wait for it.
I know, right?
Well, for me, I was close to that. I was actually cutting Claypool.
Okay.
I was starting Juju.
Mhm.
I was benching Deontay and then cut Claypool. That was mine. But yours wasn't that much off. I actually like it better, honestly, because you have to cut Deontay because of all the drops, right?
It's the drops, and that's something that a player can obviously get coached out of, practice out of, but we've seen too much. I've seen too many drops.
Yeah,
and I'm not okay with it.
On little dump passes as well too from Ben. Not really like anything crazy.
No, so go. I want the big play. Give me the big play.
Yes.
And give me the reserve that I know I have, consistency in with Juju, and for that reason, I'll
What's annoying about Deontay is he's getting the volume. Like he's seeing as many targets as AB saw in his prime with the Steelers. Like him seeing 13 targets in a game, that is crazy to me. But it's even crazier to see he only catch 4 of those. Like, what the hell? Like, you're killing me, man. You're killing me, man.
No, it's killing me. Smalls should be a new shirt with Deontay's face on it.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Catch the ball.
You have one job.
Literally. Getting paid millions.
It's definitely like one of those things where, you can be the Monday morning quarterback and be like, oh, you should have caught that. You should have made that play. And we're not seeing it from his eyes. But at the same time, this is your job. Your job is to go out there and make these plays, to get out ahead, to make the play after the catch. And it's just, you just got to catch the ball.
And that's it. That is literally it. You just have to catch the ball.
Yeah.
But what's up, Jordan? How you doing? But LQ loves the series, and I agree that Haskins with Pitts, that can be an underrated move. Maybe for the future. I mean, how you feel about that, Sam?
I think that, Haskins hasn't had, the best of luck. So I'm just very hopeful that his luck turns around with a coach like Mike Tomlin. Again, he's someone that I think should have won Coach of the Year multiple times, as he's managed a winning season despite having almost his entire team hurt at different points. He's also been able to manage some of the biggest egos in the industry, and I don't think it's hot takey to say that. He's had to deal with some interesting personalities on his team that are no longer there. But I think that because he's able to work with so much and get so much out of his players, I have a lot of trust in him as a coach with someone like Haskins, who's probably had his confidence shaken multiple times in the league, just in different games and just treated and benched different ways. And I think that he can get that confidence back with someone like Tomlin.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully we could see something beautiful come out of this. Like the outcome should be better than what it was, that we saw, whatever he put on tape. Because honestly, I wasn't watching his highlights because it's probably like a minute and 13 seconds long of that video of his highlights. Painful. Tear. But yeah, moving on. So how did you get into fantasy football? Because it's no secret. It's not like a common thing to see women in fantasy football. Because there's been plenty of times I try to get my wife to join my league and she thinks it's obnoxious. She doesn't like it at all. So it is what it is. There's that. Yeah. But how did you find yourself getting into fantasy football? Like when was that year one where you were just like, let's do it?
When I was like, this is my thing. So I got into fantasy football in college. I think it's probably no surprise. I'm someone that's always had lots of guy friends. Kind of comes off pretty easily. And I like sports, and I tend to be, have a lot of tomboy type features. So I ended up having lots of guy friends growing up. But in college, I had a lot of guy friends, and they had a fantasy football league, and they said, hey, Sam, we got an extra spot. I know you like football. Do you want to play? And I was like, I've never played fantasy football. They explained how to draft people, and I was like, cool. And of course, because I am the way I am, I drafted a team that I'm like, all of these guys are really cute. Yay. So like I had Tom Brady, I had Julian Edelman, I had Jordy Nelson. He was my boo, but way back then. And what else did I have? I've had so many different people. But anyways, I drafted them, and I ended up like ending 4th. And I was like, hey, that's not bad for drafting a team that I just was like all guys that I thought were cute. So then, the next year I'm like, yeah, I want to play again. But then obviously I want to win.
Yeah, you want to win.
It's a big competitive side of me. And that kind of started to just grow. So I was always a competitive person growing up,
Yeah.
not being good at sports, but being competitive. I had art. So I'm a graphic designer by trade. I grew up
Oh,
drawing
nice.
and painting. I liked being the best of the class. So if I that was my skill, I was going to
Yeah,
try
that's
really hard
awesome.
to be good at it. So I would do that, and that competitive nature just kind of got fueled by fantasy sports. And the
Yeah.
more I learned, the better I got. So it was just a matter of continuing to feed this machine. And I really found the more I learned about football, I just found it fascinating. Just the idea of the sport isn't just stop start the way that people, like, oh, it's so boring. Everyone just stops and they start. Actually, no, it's just we're watching a chess match of these coaches go at it, finding
Yeah,
different plays to find a weakness, exploit that weakness, and then succeed because of it. So
exactly.
that was the part that really was fascinating to me, was learning about how these players get utilized in so many different facets and how each of their talents can help each other.
Hmm.
So for me, that was more I learned about the sport, the more I was like, oh, okay, I can get really into this. And then fantasy just helped learn more about other teams, because I had other
Yeah,
teams and I didn't have just Steelers players on my team, because I could never end up with
exactly.
my Steelers. I've never been able to get
Wow. I say the same
a
thing. I never end up with Rams players. Like even from the beginning of starting, I
no.
never ended up like the most Rams players I had was Greg Zerline, and I think the Rams defense. That was it. It's the
Yeah.
only people I was able to get.
No,
That's
it's
that's
because
crazy.
people know. Because people that are
Yeah.
drafting next to you, they know, like, oh, well, I'm going to get their player. And it's like, damn it.
The crazy thing is, like when I was drafting Rams players, the Rams weren't good yet, and people would talk shit about Rams players, but still take them. That was like so
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. I was like, you were just bad mouthing him the other day. Like, what
I
the
know.
hell? Why can't I
I know.
have him?
I know. It's
Sickly
like,
mates.
yeah, it's like your friends when they're like, oh, well, I don't want to go out with that person anymore. They're a waste of my time. And then you see them late at night, just like texting them. I'm like, I thought you didn't like them. Why are you
Yeah,
texting them at midnight? What are you doing?
that's toxic behavior. That's what I like to call that.
Yeah, very toxic. Be
So,
honest.
yeah, so going into it, was it dynasty or redraft? How you got started?
It was all redraft when I got started, and the league I've been in the longest.
Mhm.
That's the main league that got me into it. We've been doing dynasty in this same format now for 8 years, seven,
Oh
8 years.
wow,
And it's kind of evolved from a standard type of league format into now it's IDP, it's salary.
wow,
We've got rookie draft picks. Like the
it's
only thing that
growing.
we don't, it's growing so much. The only thing it's not right now is Devi, so we don't have those taxi squads yet. But I have
Gotcha.
the feeling we'll end up there at that point. But
Eventually, somewhere.
yeah, and it's such a deep roster too. We have like 13 keepers, which
Damn.
is a lot. But we also have 6 IDP spots, which is more than what most teams
Yeah,
have.
that's a lot. I
And
did
then we
one
switched to
IDP.
Superflex.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Just
so it's
how do you find the time to focus on that? That is like to me that is like incredible like that you can even keep up with that every single week. That's insane. Like
yeah, and that's my main love league. Like that's the league that obviously I
yeah.
pay the most attention to. But every season I'm in anywhere between 8 to 12 leagues, and I've said yes to 3 more dynasty leagues as of last year with COVID and wanting to draft earlier. But in that, I think I take different mindsets into each team that I build outside of that league. I'm always trying something different. Like, okay, I'll go running back heavy in this redraft league. I'm going to go
Yeah.
quarterback heavy in this one.
Yeah.
I like to try different things. So I feel like in every format that I try, I'm trying to learn a new skill.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You gotta even with the mock drafts. I'm trying new strategies every day, every week.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to see if I can put it into like some of these leagues because the more you practice, like mock drafts matter. Like people don't understand. Like some people say, "Oh, why are you mock drafting in March?"
Mm-hmm.
Because of free agency, because I want
Yeah.
to, because I want to be prepared come
Mhm.
draft day for the leagues that I actually care about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's crazy. You might end up like clock management. If you see right here,
Yeah.
drafting Frank Gore 101, you should have mock draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other reason too behind mock drafting and even trying different formats, like you said, it's that practice so that when
Yep.
you are on draft day, your trigger finger is not going to be in a panic mode when someone takes someone that you wanted, because you now have in the back of your mind a draft board for different scenarios. So
Exactly.
the quarterback you wanted to take early is gone. Okay, you know the running back, you know the receiver, you know the tight end you want to take in that spot instead, and maybe you didn't get the 3rd or 4th spot that you wanted. You ended up with pick 11 or 12. You've
Yep.
tried that format, So you already know who you're going to take at that spot and who you're going to end up with. So it's definitely just all strategy based. And I think that the strategy is what fascinates me the most with fantasy.
Yep, 100%. So let's jump into when you actually got started in doing content. When did you want to put this for the universe to see, or YouTube, or where? Like, where did you start? Like, how did you like get the confidence to go and do it like in front of a camera, or audio only?
Yeah. Well, I think it was, gosh, time is so like vapor. It's kind of hard to think of what year it was, but I think it was about 5 years ago now, almost 6. I was a very loyal and avid listener of Fantasy Focus with Matthew Berry, and it was, I think, the second year or first year that Field was on it. I think it was the second year. And they have their men's league and women's league for fantasy, and I wrote in to join, and I got to join their women's league. They actually had 2 women's leagues that year because so many people joined, I think. And I didn't do well in that league at all. I did terrible.
Oh, you bombed it.
Yeah, I bombed that league. I was terrible. But I had so much fun engaging with them, and I reached out to them a million times and had good conversations on Twitter that Matthew said, hey, if you're ever in the area, come and swing by ESPN, and love to chat. And so I did, and I was like, I'm not gonna be there, but I will make myself there. I went and visited with them and hung out with them, and just through that experience and through all those interactions and with other people on Twitter with fantasy football, I got a couple people reaching out asking if I would want to write, and I was like, I'm not really a writer, but would love to try that. And so I did, and I got an opportunity to write for the Fantasy Authority a couple years back, and so I was writing for them. And after writing a couple articles, they asked if I wanted to be on a podcast, and I was a guest on a couple episodes, and then a couple other people reached out and asked if I wanted to be a guest, and I kept just thinking, why do people want to hear my take on this? This is weird. But I think I just bring a different mindset on my reasoning why I like to take players in the ways that I do, or why I like to play the game. And that's ultimately what we're all looking for in different analysts anyways, is another point of view.
It's definitely important for that, always.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started, in a very mixed bag way. It was all Matthew Berry, and he's fantastic, and I love everything about him.
Wow. But that's definitely important that you give your perspective, you give your mindset, because there's a lot of times where you start hearing the same narrative over and over and over, and it's like, well, okay, but you know what I mean? So like that's very important for you, being able to have your mindset, and like you said, backtracking to where you're not really a writer, but you took on that opportunity and then ended up helping you and ended up you being good at it. So that's awesome that you hit on that point as well. But again, with the Fantasy Focus, the opportunity, has that transitioned to you getting more opportunities? Like, did that open more doors just because you were there?
I think so. If anything, getting to talk with people like that about fantasy football gave me the confidence to reach out and try harder and
shoot your shot.
Yeah, to shoot your shot on different things, because ultimately, obviously, this is a hobby. It's a hobby. It's something that we all do extra because we enjoy it. But for me, I'm always 110% in anything I try. So even if it's a hobby, I'm going to try and kill it at that hobby. So it's more just, all right, well, that article wasn't that great. I can do better at that. Hey, the next time I do a podcast, I'd love to make sure I make these points. And so you're just constantly challenging yourself. And I think it's that competitive nature in me that wanted to continue to get better. And it's like, okay, now I want to be an analyst, and I want to be good at what I'm analyzing, so that when people reach out to me, they can feel confident in the answer I'm giving them because I've done the research.
You've done the work and you did the grind. That's what's awesome. So is there any other start where you got with your social media? Was it Twitter your first social media where you started putting out content, or did you start like on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc.?
No, I mean, all of my main pushing out of content has been through Twitter, and just reposting every podcast that I've been on, or different podcasts that I've been interested in, or articles that I appreciate and love, or ones that I've written. It's all been through Twitter. My Instagram is pretty much minimal. It's just probably just because pictures of me and my cat.
Yeah.
So I probably should do more fantasy content on my
Yeah, right.
but right now all my fantasy stuff is on Twitter.
Yeah, I feel like I agree. I feel like my Instagram, it's kind of like just bland. It's not really like anything great because it's kind of hard to get that growth on there because all there is pictures. That's what I love about Twitter. Like you'll get inside of my, crazy life that I got going on at work, and you'll get my daily thoughts and some fantasy content and some fantasy stats and stuff like that. That's why I like how Twitter was like set up and how the community is. So coming in, was the Twitter fantasy community open arms to you, like in the beginning when you started doing content?
I felt like it was. I feel very lucky in the contacts that I've made and my experiences. I will say I've had far more positive experiences than negative experiences. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I know not everyone is so lucky to have that. And there's always going to be trolls and people that want to, rip you apart because you're a woman and you have an opinion on sports.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, that's nice. You can go and have a bad day somewhere else. You don't have to have
Exactly.
a bad day on my feed.
So how do you deal with that? That's what leads into my next question. I know, reason why this series has started, because I don't think I shared with you why. Over the summer, like it was just like attack of all the women. And I've plenty of people have seen it all over the feed, and it's so toxic. And I always wonder, like, how do you guys deal with that? Being that you're a woman, being that you're talking about sports, you're going to get, the little dick syndrome guys that are going to be out there attacking just because you're actually saying the same thing as somebody else that they're praising. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always wondered, how did you guys deal with that? Like, how was that mindset of just either block, mute, or like, how do you personally deal with that experience?
I think that I only tend to block people that end up in the DMs that become a bit too personal when they're just, trying to hit on you in a way that I'm like, hey, this isn't what this is for. No, thank you.
Not a dating site, bro.
No, not a dating site. No, I didn't post that. So
no.
We're not selling that on here. No, thank
you.
That's when the blocks happen for me. I'll mute if I just, if it's just, continuous talking that I just don't need to hear. That's fine.
So you don't feed the troll at all?
No, my whole aspect is to not feed the troll. I will 100% repost when someone makes a good comeback to a troll, because I love when people have a good comeback. Sometimes
you love the clapbacks.
I'm not fast enough with mine, so that's why I don't tend to do it.
So just mute until you think of something.
I'm just like, I also have always found that, in reality and on the internet, when you respond to someone, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If they say something negative, they just see that response as, hey, I got an interaction. I'm going to continue. Yeah. So you're just feeding them to want to interact with you more. So I just tend to not respond. But someone I think that does it really well, Mina Kimes gets so much crap on her feed. Yeah. And her clapbacks are amazing. They could be slogans just on billboards.
Put it on the shirt.
I want t-shirts of all of her clapbacks because they're so good. They're so good. She's so witty.
Fire content only.
All fire content. Yeah. she's the queen of the clapback. I love it.
Yeah, Robbie here, he says haters make you famous. I mean, it's true. It's definitely true.
Sure. But I'd rather become famous based on my own, merit than someone else, trying to spearhead me for any reason. I'd rather people like me for me than,
exactly
the amount of hate or vitriol that I see on my feed.
Yep. So what do you love about the fantasy community the most, though?
I think I love the positive interactions, obviously, the most. I love the growth. I love the support too. I think all of us are working on honing our own craft in our own ways. And so it's just nice when you see people recognize good work and promote that good work that each other are doing. So when someone has an article that you love and you're like, guys, you need to be checking this out. If you don't follow this person, you're doing yourself a disservice because they put out good content. I just love it when you see someone work hard and other people respect and reshare that hard work.
Oh yeah, for sure. That, like, when I jumped into the community, it was all open arms, just similar to your experience. And that's like some of the things that I love about this community. Like, it could be very toxic on Instagram, it could be very toxic on Facebook, but my experience on Twitter was just love. You know what I mean? Everybody was able there to support each other. I asked questions. People asked me questions. There was no type of like, oh, well, figure it out. You know what I mean? That's kind of weird to have. Like, I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? Because MySpace, where I started, was Facebook and Instagram, and there's a lot of that going on. So coming in, it was very like, whew, thank God this is how it is over here. Because I feel like most of my opportunities came from Twitter. Most of my connections and interactions with some of these people that are in the industry came from Twitter. Like Instagram, I was suffering just by myself and not really knowing who's who and what to do and who to talk to. So that's definitely like number one of why I love this fantasy community. But before we wrap up, why don't you let people know what's next for you? What's next for Sam?
There's going to be a lot of cool new things coming very soon. Some that I can't quite talk about yet. Ooh. But if you guys want to check out any of my previous content or stuff just to see more about me, you can always check that out, the Fantasy Debate over on YouTube. And my one-on-one with interviews there you can see on the Fantasy Focused channel. I've gotten to interview some really great people in the space. I got to interview Matthew Berry, Field Yates, Liz Loza, Melissa Jacobs, Cynthia Freeland, a lot of amazing
heavy hitters.
Big heavy hitters that were really fun to talk to. Very much in this format. I love hearing people's stories. So I was really appreciative when you wanted to hear my story, which is really
for sure.
Cool.
I love origin stories. I said that today earlier in a podcast I was in Clubhouse. I'm a huge origin story. Even if it's a villain or a hero, I just love the beginning to figure it out and like dive into it and again highlight your achievements and celebrate you. That's really all what this is about.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's just fun to hear all of our paths and how they're ending up crossing now and what took us on this journey. So it's definitely, I love hearing those origin stories too. So it's been great getting to chat with you about mine. But yeah, that's my stuff right now, and keep an eye out for more new stuff. I'll probably be doing a live Twitter kind of party for the draft on that Thursday.
Nice.
So keep an eye out on my feed. So myself and a couple other friends will be jumping on together to talk about the picks as they happen. So you guys can hear our fantasy takes. Yeah, so it'll be fun. So keep an eye out for that. And then probably some new news for me, maybe middle of the summer. I'm gonna leave it, open-ended, but there will be some really big news to come very soon.
That sounds good. I'll be tuned in, Sam. Now, before you go, I don't know how we didn't talk about whiskey. What is your top whiskey? Like, what are you drinking?
All right, so my 101.
Excited you got.
I know, I got so excited. Okay, so my 101 is probably Woodford Reserve.
Wow.
Just because not only do I love it straight, I love it, with a single rock, single cube. I love it in a mint julep. If you haven't had Woodford Reserve in a mint julep, it is bomb. I also love it as an old fashioned. And then besides that, Four Roses is a close second for me. I also love Angel's Envy. And what's my other one? Not a big Knob Creek girl. Not my thing. No. But no, Woodford Reserve is my one. And Four Roses. What about you?
I'm a tequila guy. I
love tequila too.
Yes, I love tequila 1800. I love Don Julio. I'm just sticking to what I know. Everything else seems dangerous to me.
I love that. Okay, wait. So since you're a tequila person, I have to ask this. Yeah. Are you also a margarita person, and are you a spicy margarita person?
Here's the thing. I've had margaritas. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of it, but if it's there, I'll drink it. Yeah. Sure. I like to hang back, chill, have a good time. The sun has to be out. It has to be a good vibe, and then I'll take a margarita. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people hate margaritas. Some people think.
So are you just a straight on the rocks then?
Yeah. Straight on the rocks. I mean.
Cool.
I think I have it. No, I don't have any more tequila, but 1800 silver is like really good straight up on the rocks. And I'll have like a side of like orange juice with it and mix it up Saturday morning or whatever with brunch, whatever the case may be.
Have you done Casamigos tequila?
Oh my God. I recently did. That is awesome.
So smooth.
I gotta get up on my tequila. I gotta get more. I gotta branch out because I've been so stuck in just what I know because all the other stuff is dangerous. I try to have a good time.
I also want to try the Rocks Tequila Terramana.
Oh my God. Actually, so a little bit about me. So I work for Tesla. I'm a Tesla mechanic. I just ordered that Tesla tequila and I'm going to go live and try it out.
Oh my gosh, I definitely want to see how that taste test goes. I'm
Yeah.
so curious.
I'm getting mixed reviews though. Some people are saying it's really good, and some people are like, it's disgusting. I'll just keep it for show. But the bottle looks really cool.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to post it. I cannot wait to tune in for that content.
Yes, that'll be fire content.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Sam, thank you for coming by. This was great, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you for a little bit, chop it up, and again talk about your origin story. And hey, I'm tuned into whatever you got coming out.
Cool. Thank you so much again for having me on. This was awesome, and I love that you're doing this series. I think it's awesome to hear everyone's origin stories, but also to highlight women in sports, which is awesome.
Yes, and let those trolls and haters, whatever they be, they can drown in whatever they got going on in misery. So there's that.
Yep, obviously.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming and watching. Thank you for everybody in the comments that showed up and showed support to us, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.